And this is Basic Folk, a podcast where we interview folk musicians. We have deep, connected conversations with folk musicians. You know it's weird out there. I am hoping that you're being smart, staying safe, following whatever weird guidelines it is that we have been given at whatever point you're listening to this podcast at. It is a very strange time, and I will just say out of my own experience, just remember to drink water. Remember to stop listening to the news when you need a break. Move your body around, because I made the mistake of not moving my body for 5 days and did an intense workout and then was like, oh my God, how do bodies move? It was intense. And also, make sure you're just checking in with people. I've been trying to convince my mom to, call my cousin's wife on FaceTime so that she can see their baby, just because, she wants to check in. And, she's like, I don't want to bother people. And it's now is the time to bother others in your life. People want to hear from you, and it's okay. It's weird. And if you need something, reach out. And even if it's hard, just send a text saying hi to someone and see if that starts a conversation, because sometimes it's terribly hard to reach out. But the other thing is that sometimes people don't know that you need something, so just give them a hint, a whisper of a hint, if you would. Today on the podcast, very happy to have an old friend of mine, Jesse D, who is a Boston area singer and songwriter. He is a painter and a singer who takes influence from classic soul and R&B. He's the eldest of 5 children raised in Arlington, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston. Jesse was obsessed with oldies on the radio from a young age. He also turned to theater as a teen and started writing songs and learning about guitar in high school. He attended Mass Art, which, if you're not a Boston person, is the Massachusetts College of Art and Design, which is the hip art school in the area. While he was there, he had an intention of becoming a professional artist, but a stint in a touring act in college pointed him towards music and performance as a life calling. Jesse's released a couple of brilliant albums that encapsulate that incredible R&B and soul sound that he originally fell in love with. We talk about what drew him to that sound originally and what he enjoys about writing soul and R&B classics and what he enjoys in that writing of those classics. Also, his dad was totally on the PBS show This Old House, so come on. We are going to check out a song from his 2013 album, which is his latest. He will hopefully have a new album this year, next year, sometime soon. This is kind of the title track, called On My Mind, In My Heart. Let's hear it from Jesse D, and then we'll get to our conversation on Basic Folk.
I'm on the road, you're still at home, doing your day-to-day. Well, I'm on my own and you're all alone, too many miles away. Through rivers and roads, cities and towns, countries and continents. But despite what it seems, the space in between us is insignificant. Oh, just like our feet, well, they touch on the ground, just like gravity. We lift them up and then they come back down. We'll be together wherever we may be, 'cause it makes no difference where we are, or we'll never be far apart. You can take my word, rest assured, you'll be on my mind and in my heart, on my mind.
Okay, Jesse D.
Hello, Cindy.
Hello, thanks for talking to me.
Thank you for having me here.
You were born in the city of Boston.
I was born in the city of Boston.
And grew up in Arlington, which is an interesting place. It's right next to the epicenter of culture in this state. So you may have experienced Boston and Cambridge in a different way. What was that like growing up so close to town?
Well, I'm old enough to remember that, like, you went to Davis Square to get, like, mugged, basically.
Well,
It's-
wait, like back in this, so Davis Square is in Somerville.
Davis Square, which is kind of a
It's a hoppin' spot.
yeah,
now.
it's I guess it's it's a epicenter and quickly becoming. I don't want to like sit here and be like, oh, I remember when
When it was Slummerville.
when it was Slummerville, but
Yeah.
I do in fact remember that, and in hindsight, I feel very fortunate to be having grown up in this area. I love this area. I like the, but it's changed very much from what it once was.
So your parents, did you have both parents? Okay.
Yes.
What was your relationship like with them?
It was great.
Because you were kid number one.
I was kid number one, so I was kind of like the, their first run of it, and they were very, they took great care of me. My father was a painting contractor, and my mother was a grade school teacher.
What grade?
It bounced around from everywhere from, second through fourth or fifth. It was kind of like wherever the school needed her to be, but she was involved in like the library program and the theater program, as well as like teaching just regular grade school activities. So they definitely inspired creativity in me, and I think my father inspired trade craftsmanship and taking pride in craftsmanship.
Was your dad on This Old House?
He was on this old house.
Please
Yes.
tell me about that.
My father was a painter on this old featured on This Old House, and he was featured in their magazine and on their
Like numerous times?
numerous times. Yes, he's a very knowledgeable painter, and I've worked with him over the years and from a very young age. So
Does he do like artistic painting as well?
not so much, more kind of a whole bunch of different things, but lots of like wood finishing and restoration and fine painting of sorts.
I know who to call if I need any painting.
You know who to call, yeah. John
were-
W.D.
Were your parents strict?
Yeah, to a certain point, I would say so. But no, I guess in the spectrum of strict parents, they probably could have been a lot stricter.
What kind of things were they strict about?
They were. It was definitely a religious household that I grew up in. I think that there was, growing up, I remember like there's certain, certain television we couldn't watch, and I think that translated to music at a young age. They would let me listen to the oldies station, but that was like what I was
was
allowed
it.
to listen to,
Wow.
which I think that led to some initial seeds planted for my musical taste, I guess. But
So they were like, okay, Jesse, you can't watch this particular TV show or listen to these particular radio stations. Were you like, okay, or did you like go over to your friends' houses and, try to sneak that stuff?
yeah, I mean, sooner or later, I exposed myself to lots of stuff, and I guess
Were you disobedient is what I'm asking. Or were you a good kid?
ultimately, I was a pretty good kid. I would probably push their limits, but yeah, I was a good kid, and they weren't. I don't mean to make them sound like super strict people. It was just.
Right. So, okay, I feel like I've asked you questions about your parents before, but always in the context of like they were strict, they were religious. So, in what ways were they fun?
They were fun in the sense that, I I mean, those were the days where you just like, let your kids out and be home by this certain time, which just doesn't strike me as what parents do anymore.
So no
in
oversight.
2020.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up next to some woods in our backyard, so I would wander the woods by myself and build forts as a little kid, and they were fun in that they spurred my creative imagination, and I'm trying to think of good fun examples, but yeah.
You're the eldest of 5 children,
I am.
which is a lot of children. How do you like being the oldest brother? What was that like for you?
I mean, I guess I liked it fine. I never knew anything else, so it was never anything you can change. It was just I guess I've always got along with my siblings for the most part. My youngest brother is like 15 years younger than me, so I guess in our youth is disconnected to a certain degree, that I was kind of graduating high school by the time he was like a toddler type of thing. So
what were the rules? I'm interested in how like your parents' parenting style like evolved. You weren't allowed to listen to any radio station except the oldies station. How is that different from your brother who's 15 years younger than you?
I mean, I'm sure it's true with. I mean, I speculate when I say I'm sure it's true with lots of parents, but I mean, I think people's parenting styles probably get relaxed over time, and that with your first kid, you wish the best for them, and you want to get it right, and but I'm sure that you realize you probably get tired, and you probably you realize what some things aren't as important. And,
so did they relax?
I would say over time they considerably relaxed.
Let's talk about, if you're comfortable with it, your experience with religion growing up. What was that
Sure.
like?
It was just kind of how we were raised type of thing.
What kind of religion?
It was just like a non-denominational Christian household. So, and I went to a school that was affiliated with the church that they were part of. So, like kindergarten through 8th grade, it was like a small private school.
How small?
I was on the first day of school when I was in kindergarten. There were like 6 people. I think there were around 6 kids.
6 little people.
6 tiny people, and I think I was the first kid to go through all K through 8 in the school.
It's quite an accomplishment.
It was a timing thing. It just happened to be there.
So this church, so it's a non-denominational Christian church. So is it like a community-oriented type of place?
It was a community-oriented type of place, and I think that I got a great education
from the school.
From the school, yeah,
right.
Being in a teacher to student ratio was good.
Totally.
And, there was kind of a whole community that raised kids, and school got considerably bigger over time. That just happened to be.
What was what kind of like religious themes did they incorporate into your school?
There was praise and worship for God, I guess, and that certainly became a vehicle for music in my life on a constant basis.
Would you have music in school?
Yes.
As well, yeah.
Yes.
And was it kind of religious themed music?
Yes, for the most part. I don't know that I was ever like a really good Christian, so to speak, in that context. I think that
What do you mean?
I was never like really into it. I think as a kid, if you're kind of growing up in that environment, you're kind of inserted in that, and I think it's good, as people grow older, that they can formulate their own thoughts and ideas. But I guess religion can function differently for different sorts of people, and I think that there's a lot of good that can come out of it, depending on the person. And I think that it instilled good virtues in me. I wouldn't call myself a Christian at this point in my life.
It's interesting to hear that you were never like kind of into it, but it was like such a huge part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it was also, a long time ago too. So I'm trying to put myself. I'm trying to give you an accurate description, but also things get foggier as you get further away from your.
Well, now you'll have this recording, so
That's
you can
right.
remember
That's
it forever. Right. Would you go every Sunday to church?
Yeah, I would have to. And my father was
I would have to.
like the worship, the music leader
He was.
in the church. So I would see him singing, and there would be a live band basically playing.
Are your parents hippies?
No, I think my father was probably a little bit of a hippie when he was like in his late teens.
But was he up there playing guitar?
Playing guitar and singing, yeah.
And singing. You were singing as well in church?
I was, yeah.
And that was your first time performing in front of people?
I would be singing some in church. Probably my first time performing in front of people would be more like theater productions, like in school.
Gotcha.
And between that and I was involved in like a youth chorus.
Do you remember how that felt when you would first perform, when you'd first sing in front of people, and how you felt about your singing?
I mean, having a crowd of people applaud for you is a rush. It's a good feeling, and I remember that.
Do you remember liking your singing when you first were performing?
That's a tricky one. I remember that I liked singing. I don't know if I always liked my singing. To this day, I often find it cringeworthy listening back type of thing, but I enjoy it in the moment. I think that maybe the parts that I didn't like or that I don't like inspire me or push me to get it to the point where I do like it, or
like lean into the parts you don't like.
Yeah. I think that I had I think that I had a certain natural ability to do so. Mm-hmm. But it's something I've worked hard at my whole life, I guess, to get better at. I'm just trying to think back to how I first thought about my singing.
What kind of kid were you when you were little? Were you like a loud kid? We talked about how you followed the rules.
Yeah, for the most part. I was very I was a creative kid, so I was as a kid growing up, I was more involved in the visual arts than I was in music, to the extent that music is in my life today. So I was a creative kid, and I was probably certainly like a right-brained person growing up from an artistic standpoint. But I was probably to this day, I'm still probably more of an introvert. So I don't know if I was necessarily loud. And
so interesting. We'll get back to that, introvert. But first, the radio. So we mentioned this a little bit, that your parents allowed you to listen to the oldies station in Boston, which was Oldies 103.3 WODS.
WODS, yeah.
Which started getting into ODS when you were in the 3rd or 4th grade. Can you talk about your connection to radio when you were younger and how it felt to listen to oldies on the radio?
Yeah, I mean, I remember having it. I remember having an alarm clock that had, a little cassette player built into it. So I would listen to it like before bed type of thing, like going to bed.
Did you have a sleep timer on it? I mean, I did. That's why I was asking.
I don't know if sleep timers were like part of the radio yet, or
there was like a button
I guess there was a button you could press
called
on it.
sleep, and it would play the radio for 30 minutes.
For 30 minutes, and then
I've got one in here. Let's go take a look after the sleep button.
I do have memories of hearing. I have memories of hearing songs like in my sleep, and waking up the next morning and be like, "Hey, Mom, is there a song that goes like this?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, it's really weird." But
that you'd heard on the
that I had heard like maybe I wasn't full deep sleep, but
and
I remember
you were still thinking
I'd
about
wake
it.
up and
Wow.
I could sing it. I remember.
Would it be incorporated into your dreams at all?
I think that it would be I think it's the same idea that people will have like trucks backing up in their dream, and then they wake up and it's their alarm beep going.
I used to turn my alarm on like way back in the 90s. I would turn on Howard Stern like automatically, and then Howard Stern would appear in my dreams. It happened more than once. Yeah. You talk a lot about connecting with authentic, raw, emotional music. Why do you think those elements of emotion and rawness were resonating with your 3rd grade self? Which I guess is sort of like, in talking about, you labeled yourself like kind of an introverted kid, but internally, did you feel like dramatic or emotional? And maybe this music helped relieve some of that?
I don't know that when I was in 3rd grade, I was thinking, oh, this is really getting in touch with my emotions.
For sure, but like thinking back now, if you're like,
yeah, I mean, I think that one of the beautiful things about music as an art form or as a physical as an experience is that it has actual physical effect on you. So whether it's something that moves you for whatever reason, just by hearing it, like you don't have to necessarily understand it or be able to dissect it or understand why it's making you feel something. You know that you're just feeling something. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what a catchy melody could do, whether it's something that you're singing the next day because it's stuck in your head, mm-hmm. or
that's what it did to you?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. It still does that to me.
I like the way that you're answering my questions, and like you're saying in life this can happen, and then like it happened. That's what you're talking about. That happened to you, right?
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I love the way that music still does that to me, and I think that it's certainly fuels inspiration for creating music and wanting to make other people feel the way that I feel when I hear music.
Right. Yeah, I've read you talking about that, like, you know, I've heard people say, and it's so true, that like music makes you feel less alone, and it's just so nice to be able to like identify that as like something that you want to do as an artist and as a musician. You didn't play guitar until you were 18, and you were fronting a band and writing. So what was the reason for learning the guitar?
I started picking up the guitar. My father played guitar through and still does as I was growing up. So I would pick it up and try to play it. I don't think I really sat down and tried to form my fingers in various positions till I was like 17 or 18. And I think at that point I had started writing songs and singing them, so it definitely functioned as a means of accompanying myself.
And you said your dad helps you figure out the guitar, and I also read the Bob Dylan. You had a Bob Dylan guitar book?
Yeah, he started showing me basic chords, and then at some point I remember having it was like the Bob Dylan 6-chord songbook.
6 chords.
Yeah, so there was like
not just 3.
Throughout the book there was like only 6 chords, and so that was an attraction for a beginning guitarist of sorts, for sure.
Painting has always been a big part of your life. You were painting before you were a musician, and you almost went into art as a profession over music. So how did you first start painting artistically?
I think probably crayons.
Finger paint?
Yeah.
Crayons or crayons?
I was more of a crayon guy, Cindy,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I dipped into some crayons here and there.
I mean, I love a good crayon.
I love a good crayon, yeah. It was just something that I think that I probably had a certain natural ability to do as a young kid, and I think when you're a little kid, you like stuff that you have a natural ability to do. So I think it was something that I enjoyed and spent a lot of time drawing as a kid. I was taking art classes, I remember, as a fifth and sixth grader, like outside of school. My parents were nice to enroll me in.
Your parents do sound nice.
They're wonderful people. They're wonderful people. They're not that strict. And drawing and painting, by the time I got to high school, was very much a part of that, and certainly helped me get through high school, I think. So
Yeah, high school. So fun, huh?
yeah, it's a great time. I think that probably starting to perform in a touring band in college while studying visual art certainly helped diverge my interests.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it just gradually became more clear that
Music
moved me in a way that I wanted to spend more time doing that.
How hard was that choice? Because you spent your whole life trajectory working towards being an artist, and then all of a sudden you make this discovery.
Yeah, I don't know that it's such a cut and dry choice that one day, well, that's the end of that. I still utilize those skills to a certain point. I don't think I exercise those muscles, so to speak, as much as I do with music. But
You still paint and freelance as a graphic designer, and you say the painting sparks your music. You say, I sing when I paint. I've composed songs while I paint a number of times. Can you talk about what that is like to paint and sing and how that act is inspiring?
I think it would be just the same as singing while doing the dishes or mowing your lawn.
Those don't sound like things that you want to do, though.
No.
Chores.
No, but I'm trying to read into the actual physical experience that I don't know how much weight we should put on the actual painting part. It's I'm not sure if I see a difference between that and singing while you're doing anything else.
Okay. I mean, it sounds so fun to sing and paint. It's like painting la 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 la, and then like this up and down motion. This is how you. Did you hear my wrist crack when I was doing that? Oh boy, old.
It's been a while, yeah.
since I painted in the air.
If you're getting into a painted representation of audible music, trying to make a visual picture of what something sounds like as you hear it, that's a different sensory experience.
What do you mean?
If you're trying to make a painting of what a certain piece of music sounds like to you.
Have you done that?
Sure.
So what's that like?
It's enjoyable, but it's, a subjective thing.
Have you done it for like one particular song or an album?
I remember doing it, painting a whole bunch of stuff for Bitches Brew, Miles Davis record.
You just put the record on and listen to it over and over again?
I remember doing that it was an exercise in a class. I remember in college.
How'd you feel the next day after listening?
Felt great.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you went to Mass Art. Mass Art is like, if you don't know, Mass Art is like super duper arty school in Boston. From my experience, everyone I know who went there was like a major art kid in high school. My best friend in high school went to Mass Art, and
Really?
she was like very arty. Like she was in high school carrying around the humongous portfolio.
Yeah.
Like up and down the, it's a certain type of kid. So tell me how you fit in with the art kids.
Yeah, I was an art kid from. I don't know that. It's certainly not the most kind of artsy school.
It's pretty artsy.
Even on that street, I would argue that the Museum School of Fine Arts
well.
is very much more artsy in the
Mass Art has
in the way that I think you're getting at.
These kids are carrying around Super 8 film cameras in their bike messenger bags.
Yep.
With their capes hanging low.
As like an artsy teenager kind of being inserted into an environment like that, it's a wonderfully amazing scenario.
Did you feel like the movie Fame? You walked in?
No, not at
Not
all.
quite like that.
I mean, I think it's a type of thing where indicative of any time of someone's life at that point, where they're moving out of high school, and especially in like an artistic environment, that it's inspiring. And I mean you're going into a pool of much more talented artists and from all walks of life, and it's very eye opening, and I have very fond memories of being there.
I want to talk about your image, the way you express yourself with your clothing and with your hairstyle on stage and in real life. Granted, you're wearing a hat right now.
Okay.
So we can't see
use your
the hair.
imagination.
Yeah. But the way that you express yourself with your exterior image is like pretty awesome. You are on stage, you're wearing a suit jacket and a tie, and a number of years ago you had this incredible hairstyle that made you like 3 feet taller than
That's
you.
right.
I don't even know how to describe the hairstyle. It was like you cut a watermelon in half and then you put it on top of your head, but it was hair.
It
looked
like,
better than that.
I think that's subjective, as to how good it actually looked. Yeah, I was been blessed with a big old thick head of hair, and yeah, it was a very low maintenance do. Maybe like a bouffant, I would say.
Yeah, it was like a bump, like on a man, like a bump do on a man.
It was a bump do. Yeah.
Yeah, but you just does your hair grow up
It kind of grows out, and I think that it functioned as a recognizable image
Oh yeah.
in the sense of like a brand or branding one's
Right.
image, which can be useful in the world of music, in the business side of things.
When did you get rid of the watermelon bouffant?
It was probably 6, 7 years ago.
And you've been slicking it back.
I've been slicking it back. It's a little more streamlined. I can move around quicker.
Right,
on stage.
aerodynamic.
Aerodynamic.
Yes.
I think that I just needed to switch it up. Needed a change. And
You're always going to be that guy.
I probably will always be that guy. And I think that
I like the slick back. Looks
thank you.
very sharp.
I think it's a better look for me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you agree.
I mean, if you go back to the watermelon, I'm on your. I mean, whatever decision you want to make, we'll support you.
Yeah, maybe I was trying to look farther into the future and thought of musicians with big hair that tried to keep that going a little bit too long, and I could picture that bouffant just sagging a little bit and just
boy.
not really having the.
What about the way you dress on stage?
I think that I like getting dressed up for one. I like the aspect of making a show like an event. I like the way that it frames the concept or the idea of a show. Mm-hmm. I think that it shows respect for the audience that's come to see the show.
Yeah.
It certainly harkens back to a style of 50s, 60s R&B music that I enjoy. So I think that it can help to frame the context of what people are hearing, even if it's not exactly what they're hearing. There
is intention and thought.
Sure.
Behind it, yeah.
To a certain point.
So here's a quote from you. It's easy to come across contrived as a white person singing soul music, even more so than other genres because of the history and because of the deep-seated meaning of it all. Whereas I love James Brown, I'm not trying to be James Brown. I'm trying to be me. There's that phrase, blue-eyed soul singer, which is used to describe a white person singing what is typically seen as a black genre of music. Somebody in an article actually called you a brown-eyed soul singer, which was interesting. How do you feel about that, like, racial divide in music?
They're terms used to classify music in like a subgenre, basically. Mm-hmm. But they're kind of classifying the subgenre by race.
In this particular instance, yeah.
Brown-eyed soul is actually used for like Latin.
Really?
Heritage singing soul music. There's wonderful brown-eyed soul that came out of Texas and the Southwest of the United States. Honestly, I think the classification part is a little silly. However, people need to classify it for themselves. I think as music listeners, people often find the need to classify music, and to each his own. I think that doesn't change where the origins of rhythm and blues music came from. It is a black music by origin. I think all the best soul music, some of my favorite soul music has been a interracial effort. Like a lot of stuff at Stax.
Rick Hall.
Fame. Some of the best music ever made, I think, was made independent of people's eyes in this respect. So it kind of is what it is. It's, I'm not gonna, like, it's not something, I don't get offended by being called a blue-eyed soul singer, so to speak. It's just kind of,
it is just kind of silly.
It's kind of silly, and
it's kind of like it's different, but it's like when you use the term blue-eyed soul singer, it's kind of like female musician. It's like you're a musician, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, totally different worlds.
The same idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of a different classification.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, calling someone a blue-eyed soul singer is just like the white world saying, hey, just so you know, this person isn't black. So,
right.
in a way that, like, the female musician is demeaning to females, but blue-eyed soul singers is not demeaning to white people. That's not what I'm trying to draw a parallel between.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just want it to be super clear about that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I guess I think it's kind of silly. I don't really worry. I don't really dwell on it or take offense to it or...
Yeah, no, I wouldn't think that you'd be offended by it, but just like, you know, if I never heard the phrase blue-eyed soul singer, it couldn't be soon enough, you know?
Right, right.
Like, I don't care what race the person is who's
right.
singing it. You know, I understand the origin of where it came from. And that's about all.
Yeah, I think that music in and of itself, whether it's soul music or whatever kind of music, is so much greater than the pigment in someone's skin, so to speak. And I think it's a lot more powerful than that and has the ability to affect and inspire all kinds of people, no matter where they came from, what they look like.
All right. We're going to do something very fun.
Okay.
You're going to love it.
I can't wait.
It's called the lightning round.
All right.
I
never even know that I would make it all the way.
And you made it all the way. And we'll see if you will survive.
This will be it.
This will be it. Okay, Jesse D, here's the lightning round. First song you ever learned on the guitar?
Knocking on Heaven's Door.
What was the first non-Bob Dylan song you learned on guitar?
Pass.
Okay.
Come on, lightning round.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Lakes or beaches?
Beaches.
Karaoke song?
Let's stay together.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
What is your coffee order?
It's usually an Americano with an extra shot of espresso.
Diesel. Favorite U.S. city?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's probably New Orleans.
Nice. First album you bought with your own money? Your face right now.
It might have been a Boyz II Men cassette tape.
Wow. All right. First concert?
First concert? I couldn't tell you.
All right. Last book you read?
It's a book called The Hardest Working Man. It's about the night that James Brown saved Boston.
Nice. Dream collaboration?
Mavis Staples.
Yes, that's awesome. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Beatles.
Flying or invisibility?
Invisibility.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Where is the most beautiful place you've ever visited?
Italy. The Amalfi Coast in Italy.
All right, great. Oh, that's perfect. All right. Woo! You did it. You survived the lightning round.
Thank you. It was close.
Yes. Now go forth in your life. And when are you gonna do another record? Do you know?
Hopefully soon.
Soon. Okay.
Been dragging my feet a little bit on
a little bit,
but hopefully this year.
Listen, we would love to have you back doing a track by track if you're ever into that.
Sure.
Yeah. Great. Well,
it would be a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jesse D.
As was this. Thank you.
Thanks. Basic Folk this week was produced by the amazing Laura McCarthy. Adam Corey is also a producer on Basic Folk. Lindsay Myers is our business manager. Alex Stanton of Townspeople does our music. I hope to FaceTime with all of these people ASAP and implore you to FaceTime or Skype if you have a droid or whatever droid people do to video call people. Check in with your people. Make sure they're doing okay during this strange time. What else? I'm Cindy Howes. I host this podcast. I also work in Club Passim, and right now, Club Passim in Cambridge, Massachusetts, is an incredible historic folk venue. Right now, we are raising money to help artists who have had canceled gigs due to COVID-19, which you can check out at passim.org/pear-fund, pear like the fruit. passim.org/pear-fund. And you can check out Keep Your Distance Fest at that link as well. It's incredible. Oh man, okay, stay cool. And we'll talk to you next week, which it'll probably be crazier. But we'll find out. Okay, bye.